Good morning, everybody. Oh, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Budget Engagement Senior Town Hall. My name is Steve Walker, Deputy Chief of Staff to the Mayor. I wanted to just give the phone number and welcome everybody who's joining us on the call today and from the 10 different senior town hall sites across the District of Columbia. If you're listening to us and you have a question for the Mayor or any of the panel, we're asking you to please dial 844-881-1314 and press 0 and you'll be added to the queue. We look forward to this great conversation, and so without further ado, I'll introduce Mayor Bowser.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is great to see you all. It's great to be here at Model Cities in the Great Ward 5. And to start what is my 11th Budget Engagement Forum series. So when I became mayor in 2015, it was my commitment then, as it is now, that before we finished our budget and sent it to the council, during the critical weeks of formulation, that we would be out in the community talking to you about what budget priorities are. As well as explaining to you exactly where we are in terms of the dollars coming in, the priorities for the district, and how we expect to work together on our budget for the coming year. As you know, at the conclusion of our budget formulation process, I make a presentation to the council, and then the council begins its work. I am very pleased to be joined by our city administrator to my right, Kevin Donahue, my budget director, Jenny Reed, to my far left, and Sharon Hines, the director of the Office on Aging and Community Living. We generally start our series of budget engagement forums first with you in a senior town hall. I am pleased that I think we have 10 satellite locations, other community centers like here at Model Cities, where they have TV screens, they're dialed in, and they can participate. We likewise have people who have called in and are listening on the phone, and they can also interact with us by submitting a question over the phone. And we have still others who I'm sure are watching us on channel 16. So please, whatever you are doing, make sure you let others know that we're starting these discussions. We will have another budget engagement forum this Saturday at the Kennedy Recreation Center, maybe another two. But we will get that information up to you as well. So let's talk about our great city. And I want you to be armed with these facts, because if anybody talks about your city, you tell them we live in the best city in the world. So Washington, D.C., here are some facts, is growing faster than all states in the nation. We are the fastest growing state in the country. And why do I emphasize that? I emphasize that because people generally vote with their feet. They don't move places that aren't good for them and their families, and they don't stay places that aren't good for them and their families. Seniors would leave, and they would go, you would go other places to live, but you know that you live in the best city in the world that values you and wants to invest in you being able to age gracefully and in a healthy and supportive environment. Here's another great fact. DCPS is the fastest improving urban school district in the nation. Now, that was true before the pandemic, and it's even more important that we emphasize it now. Because of the strategic investments we made in our curricula, especially around reading, And the investments we made in our teachers. We have the best teaching corps in the nation, and our children have rebounded from COVID faster than most urban school districts. And we should be very proud of that, and we should know this, that it didn't happen by accident. We should also be very proud that if you have a 3-year-old in Washington, D.C., your 3-year-old can go to pre-K3 for free in D.C. public schools. So that's why we're improving. This is also true. Violent crime is the lowest it's been in 3 decades. 3 decades. That doesn't mean we don't have work to do. And that doesn't mean, especially for grandparents and parents, that we don't need to have a focus on our young people to make sure they're on the right track and doing the right things. The best way to keep our kids on track is to have them in school. All those investments I just talked about schools, school buildings, school principals, school teachers, that's the best place for them to be. So we have to make sure that they have, remember when we had 100% attendance? I promise you, if we were closer to 100% attendance across the board in our schools, we wouldn't have issues with children and violence. So let's stay focused on our young people. And I want to acknowledge our team at the Department of Parks and Recreation, one of the 37,000 outstanding DC government employee agencies. And our parks in the District of Columbia for the 4th year are the #1 park system in the nation. So we want to be and acknowledge that. Our DC Public Libraries received in 2024 the National Medal for Museums and Libraries, a mark of excellence. We hit a tourism high last year. We broke a record for the number of people coming to visit the district. Metro ridership led the nation in 2024. Again, a hallmark, rebounding from COVID. That didn't happen by accident, but because of strategic investment. We're leading the nation in our office to residential conversions. That's office buildings that aren't being well used or underused in the downtown are now going to be places where people can live. So that's our story, okay? Those are the facts about Washington, D.C. that I want to make sure you have at the ready. Here's another one that we're very proud of. We have a AAA bond rating. That's like having a very high credit score. High credit score is good, right? Yeah, buy more stuff. We're better than other cities, so people want to invest with us. So that's something that a lot of our peer jurisdictions just can't say. We balanced our budget. Unlike a lot of places, unlike the Congress, we balance our budget. We can only spend what we bring in. And so that's why this budget exercise is so important. Another thing that I'm proud of is that we get clean audits. When we have the auditor come in, they look at our books for a year. And then they use all of the principles of accounting that are third party to us to see if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're paying people the right way. We're keeping books the right way. We can track our receipts to justify how we spent our money. So we're doing all of those things. We have clean audits. And we have 52 days cash on hand. And that is kind of it's a standard that's important in case there's ever an emergency and we don't have any dollars coming in. We know we can run our government for almost 2 months. So those are important things. So here's the part where I tell you kind of what my thinking is going into this budget. People frequently ask me sometimes, well, Mayor, are you going to do this in the budget? Are you going to do that? I never know till the end. Because that's when we have sat down with the agency directors, the city administrator, the budget director, and all of you and have talked about what is important. I do know at the end of this month, actually, our chief financial officer will tell us, give us an estimate about how much money we'll have coming in for next year. And based on that estimate, we will make decisions about how to fund the government. And here are my priorities. I make investments in how to grow the economy. what do I mean by that? I ask myself, is this dollar or this $100 or this $1 million going to help us attract a new business, attract new jobs, create more housing, generate more tax revenue? I ask myself, does this dollar allow me to do those things? That's growth. And why is growth important? Growth is important because it allows for me to pay for all of the things that we need. And guess what? Those things that we needed last year, they cost more this year. The same things, you know this. They cost more this year. So in order to keep up with the things that I thought were important last year, we have to grow. We have to grow. And so we also have to make sure that we are investing in our core services. What are the things that the government must do? What must we do? Pick up the trash? The government must pick up the trash. The government must run outstanding schools. The government must have emergency services, right? Those are things the government, we must have safety in our city, and that comes in the form of the police, but it also comes in the form of making sure we have safe businesses and that businesses are licensed appropriately. So we have to maintain our core services. We also have to have programs that have a track record of success. The converse of that means we must rid ourselves of programs that are not successful. And so we have to look closely at it. And we also have to align our spending with our long-term projected growth. We have to continue to focus on catalytic investments, focus on public safety, public education, and our downtown. And our downtown is so important because that the value of the properties downtown generate a lot of tax revenues. And those tax revenues allow us to invest in senior programs, transportation, public safety. So you'll hear me talking a lot about what we will do in our downtown, but we always have a focus on all 8 wards and all of the commercial corridors in our city. One catalytic investment I want to just pause on for a second. You've heard about what we're going to do at RFK? Have you heard about it? Well, you've probably heard me talk about it for 10 years strong. But for 10 years, that's how long just about that RFK stadium hasn't been used. So it's been sitting there, decaying, surrounded by asphalt. And it's 174 acres. So in our city, we cannot afford to have 174 acres sitting there like that. So finally, we got it from the federal government. And now the district has control of RFK, the 174 acres there. Last week or so, I made a presentation in Ward 7 at Eastern High School to members of the Ward 7 community about where we are with the planning for RFK. And there I shared that our approach right now is to have RFK, the 174 acres there, in an anchor plan. Anchor number 1 would be the Washington Commanders. So that's the path that we're on. Now, I only say that because we're at the beginning, not the end of that discussion. And so what we will do is continue our talks with the team, and I am hopeful that we will come together with a plan that's good for the team, but better for DC residents. And so that's what we're focused on. And at that point, I would send a proposal to the Council of the District of Columbia, and we will go from there. Here's why it's important now. It's the right time, and we have the right partner. And they are ripe to make a decision about a future stadium. They could have it here, they could have it other places, but we know the best place is for them to have it here. I want to just share with you some of my principles around how we advance that. I mentioned it's 174 acres there. We think that about 20 to 25 acres would be needed for an NFL-sized stadium. So the balance of that is a lot. For park space, for recreation space, for housing, entertainment, and other commercial development. So that is the plan that I would move forward with at the Council of the District of Columbia. So before I turn it over to Kevin and to Jenny, I do want to say a word about the space we're in, because I know a lot of our neighbors are being impacted by what is happening, not just with the change of administration, but the administration's approach to the federal bureaucracy. And we don't know the full breadth of the impacts, but I just want to share with you a few numbers. We know in this region, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, we have just over 400,000 federal workers. There are thousands of federal workers around the country, but in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, it's about 400,000. We have about 191,000 of those workers have a location, a workstation location in Washington, D.C. About 70,000 of them are D.C. residents. So I want you to know that we are working as a government to make sure we get out as much information as we know to assist our families in a smooth transition. Now, I won't get into all the litigation that's around those separations, or if we think they're illegal or not, because I think there is some question about that. But there's a lot of activity surrounding those separations. But in the meanwhile, we're having families that are really impacted. So please share with anyone who needs this support, dcfedsupport.dc.gov. And on that webpage is our Department of Employment Services that explains how former federal workers can navigate some of the existing resources available to them. And so we're going to keep them in our prayers because what I'm clear about is what's happening to them is not their fault, and they deserve our support. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn to Sharon Hines, who is the Director of the Department of Aging and Community Development.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mayor, for that introduction. I was sitting here listening and reflecting, and many of you may recall last year I had a little songbird in me, and so this morning I was like, is the songbird around? Not as much. But I want to say good morning to everyone, to all of our seniors, and welcome to the FY26 Senior Budget Engagement Tele-Town Hall. I'm filled with joy. Amen. That is a sentiment, an affirmation that I've chosen to focus on in the past few months, and many of you have heard me talk about that. And so when we think about Dackle's great joy, down in our souls, sweet, beautiful, Dackle's soul-saving joy. Oh, joy, joy in my Dackle soul. So it brings me great joy to greet you today. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to connect with each and every one of you and hear directly from our city's oldest residents. And I see Miss Evelyn is in the house at Model Cities, who's 105 years old. And it's all about hearing how we can better serve you. And I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to Mayor Muriel Bowser for her exceptional leadership an unwavering commitment to prioritizing not only our older residents, but just all of DC in these times. Her dedication ensures that Washington, D.C. remains a place where all of us, especially our seniors, can thrive. I also want to extend my appreciation to the incredible staff at DACL who are here and across all 8 wards of the district today. Our Commission on Aging, our leadership is here today under the chairmanship of Gulliford Bobo. Our Senior Service Network, which is comprised of over 40 grantees that deliver on quality programs and services each and every day for all of you. The impact of the work is evident in the lives we touch. 7 days a week sometimes. So additionally, I would like to acknowledge our committee chair, Councilmember Anita Bonds, thank her for her continued support and commitment to the seniors of DACL. A special thank you goes to the team that made it possible today, because you know it takes a whole team to deliver for the residents of the District of Columbia. And so Team DCAWS under the leadership of Stephen Walker, the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs, thank you to Director Jackie Reyes and your team for working alongside DACL, and to the Model City Senior Wellness Center community under the dynamic and amazing leadership of Stacy Mack. Thank you for welcoming us in this space today. And as I mentioned, you know, last year the songbird was about Hezekiah Walker's I Need You to Survive, because its message resonated deeply. Today it's about the joy in our relationship with the district's aging population. So today the message continues to remain just as powerful. We are a community that needs one another, ensuring that every senior's needs are met so that the district continues to remain the best place to age in place. Over the past year, we have worked closely with you to identify your most pressing concerns. Our focus remains on strengthening relationships with all of our sister agencies, streamlining resources to enhance efficiency and customer satisfaction, and improving the overall well-being of our seniors, empowering you to live boldly in the communities you know and love. And alongside Mayor Bowser, we've made significant progress that you'll hear about from Jenny Reed, but I'll just touch on a few. Our Alzheimer's disease and related dementias program, known as ADRD, Mayor Bowser's signature program, Safe at Home, and our critical meals program, all designed to keep you safe, nourished, and thriving. Our commitment to keeping you active and engaged is reflected in all of our events as well. Today, being here, being on the phone, being present, educating yourselves about the financial and fiscal decisions and sacrifices that the district has to make on a daily basis. We also talk about events such as Mayor Bowser's Senior Symposium, where we use that opportunity to educate you, build your capacity. This past year, we talked about financial exploitation and scams and abuse, how to recognize them and prevent them, and who to call if you think you may have become a victim. The Centenarian Salute, where we honor our district residents who are 100 and above. And I tell you, we got work to do, because if you can be 105 and present for Mayor Bowser's Senior Budget Engagement Tele-Town Hall, tell your friends and neighbors that aren't here and on the phone, tell them, come on, we're going to do better, right? We're going to do better. And we all know how much of a great time we have at Mayor Bowser's Senior Holiday Celebration. We are packing it at the Stadium Armory. And we have fostered reputations as events that keep the morale of DC seniors upbeat and cared for. In our most recent Red, White, and You across 2 DPR locations, we saw over 700 seniors come out and celebrate love for self and for others. And so as I close, I often remind the team, without you, there is no us. Because it should be all of our goals to want to be able to age in place. You look great.
fantastic, handsome, and beautiful, and thriving. And that's our ultimate goal, to be where you are, to walk in your shoes. So thank you for joining us today. I look forward to hearing your feedback, your questions, concerns, and comments as we continue to live boldly in the best city in the world.
Thank you, Sharon. And now we will, after we get that rousing welcome and focus on what and how we're investing in our DC seniors, I'd like to turn now to Kevin Donahue and Jenny Reed.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Donahue, City Administrator. It's wonderful to be with you today. This is my 11th cycle of these as well. Thank you for being here in person, being at watch parties, and on the phone. So Jenny and I will provide a little context about the budget as you think of your questions and your recommendations to us. So I'll talk a bit about the process of how we go about constructing the budget. There are 4 parts to it. We're currently in a part that we call preparation. It starts typically around September 1st. It goes all the way until the mayor submits her budget to the council, in which the budget is finalized by the council. That takes place around April 1st. So it's a fairly long stretch of time that we're formulating our budget. What we do when we formulate the budget is we really look at, first of all, what are the mayor's goals to be able to move the city forward, which is a lot of what the mayor talked about during her presentation. Second, we look at what it costs to be able to continue doing what we're doing now. And as the mayor said, the cost of everything goes up. Sometimes it's just general inflation. Sometimes there's more demand on services, so we know we have to spend more just to be able to meet the service needs because it goes up each year. Sometimes we have union agreements in which we know the cost of employing people will go up. But we identify what's the cost of continuing to do what we do now, what's the cost of achieving the goals that the mayor has laid out, and then finally, what is the revenues that we have to balance against. That takes place really 3 times. September, December, we get our revenue estimates from the CFO, and the final estimates we get at the end of this week, typically end of February, and that is the number that we have to make sure our spending lines up for. And we have to make sure we not only balance our budget next year, we're obligated to make sure we balance over the next 4 years. So what the CFO does is the CFO will estimate what will our revenues be for 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. And we have to show how our expenses will stay in line with each of those revenue years. So, for example, if the CFO forecasts there to be a recession in 3 years, we have to show how we would adjust our spending to that. If there's growth, we have to show how we adjust to that. A very important part of that process is getting feedback from you through the budget engagement forums. I've been to 11 cycles. I think that's probably about 50 forums. I can say each and every time it has a very meaningful effect on some decisions that we make, particularly when the mayor at the end of the process is making decisions about how to make the final adjustments. The feedback is incredibly important. We give that budget to the city council typically around May 1st. They will then hold hearings that will usually last through the month of April, spilling into May, and then what they do is they mark up the mayor's budget and they give it to the chair of the council. The final budget is then established by the chair of the council, and the council votes on it. It goes back for the mayor for signature or veto. But you should think of it as between now and April 1st, the mayor has the budget. From April 1st through June 1st, the council has the budget. So if you think about how to advocate, think about it in those 2 time windows. It's not done once the budget's finalized, because then we have to go into making sure we spend the budget according to what we put into it. That we make adjustments for real life changes that happen as we go about the year, and that we look with the eye towards accountability, when and where are we able to follow through on our commitments, and how do we make adjustments if we feel like we're falling short of those. And we do that in preparation for beginning the new cycle again. So that's the cycle. Right now we're in the preparation phase, and we will be in it for the next month. If you go to the next slide, I'll talk about at a high level how your money is spent in our budget. And if you think about this, it's not sort of sized proportionally, because I'll start with the largest numbers, which is human support services. That is Medicaid, that is health care, that is homeless services, that is supports for behavioral health. So everything that relates to social services, health care, homeless services totals $7 billion, about 1/3 of our total budget. The next largest one is what is called enterprise financing and other. This is what you should think of it as things that we are obligated to spend money on. We don't have a choice around. We have to pay interest on our debt. We have to pay our debt off. We have to follow through on union agreements in which we've obligated ourselves to give increases to pay for our very hardworking employees. It's where we keep our housing production trust fund money that we have obligated and we know we have committed to certain construction of affordable housing. So the $4.7 billion, 22%, we don't have any option around. Then education, this includes both DCPS and our charter schools, total about 20% of our budget. So if you think of those three buckets of education, healthcare and human services, and the things that we must do by law, it totals to be, if you add it up, 20, 22 is 42. So about 75% of our budget is in education, healthcare, human services, and things we have no option over. Everything else the city does falls into about 25% of the remaining budget. And you can see economic development is about 2.5%, or $500 million. Public safety is 9%. It's been about that for the past 10 years that I've worked on budgets with this mayor. And what we call our government operations, which captures everything from public works to transportation to hiring and contracting and making sure we run an efficient city, that's about 14%. But the biggest chunk is educating our residents and providing healthcare and human service supports to them. And that's what constructs our budget of $21 billion. And I'll turn it over to Jenny, who will go into some more detail about some of the investments that we've made in the past year.
All right, great. Thank you, City Administrator. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jenny Reed, and I am Mayor Bowser's Budget Director. This is also my 11th cycle in the Budget Engagement Forums. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the exciting highlights in the current fiscal year budget. Starting with education. As you heard from Mayor Bowser, DCPS is the fastest improving urban school district in the nation. And that's due to the hard work of our teachers and our students, but also the investments the mayor has made in those individuals as well, including $2.8 billion to support DC public schools and our public charter schools, $17 million to reimagine high school and develop our advanced technical center located here in Ward 5, and $5 million to support advanced internships, career-ready internships, and dual enrollment, meaning we can start training students for high-demand, high-paying jobs that they can get when they graduate. And then $4.8 million to accelerate their learning through high-impact tutoring. Mayor Bowser has made affordable housing one of her top priorities since taking office, and we know that it continues to be a big need here in the city. So the FY25 budget included $28 million for our home purchase assistance program to help low-income first-time homebuyers buy their first home in DC. $1 million to support our heirs legal services property program, making sure that your home can stay within your family as the generations proceed. And $101 million to rehabilitate and modernize our public housing units managed by the DC Housing Authority, where we know we have a number of seniors living. As you heard the mayor say earlier, public safety and violent crime in particular is at its lowest level in more than 3 decades. That not only is a result of the investments the mayor has made in MPD to put them on a path to getting to 4,000 sworn officers, but alternatives for our youth. So the budget included $7 million to provide support programming for those kids who maybe are at risk or already involved in crimes. $4.8 million to support our fire and emergency medical services personnel with life-saving equipment, and $3.4 million to buy and maintain crime-fighting technology to support our Metropolitan Police Department. Economic opportunity is a big focus of ours. As you heard, we want to make sure we're making those investments that will grow our economy. And so last year we were excited to announce $515 million to support the renovation of the Capital One Arena that allowed the Washington Wizards and Capitals and Mystics and other exciting teams and concerts to stay right here where they belong in Washington, D.C. Yes, very excited. $7 million to support the implementation of the BEST Act, which makes it easier to open and maintain a business here in Washington, D.C. And then $3 million to support our festival fund, to make sure that we can support community groups who want to have festivals here in Washington, D.C. In Health and Human Services, $13 million was added to support the opening of 2 non-congregate shelters, the Aston and the East Street shelters, providing more supports and places for people experiencing homelessness, $12 million for emergency rental assistance, and $750,000 to expand the Safe at Home program, which we all know was created by Mayor Bowser during her first term. And then last but not least, making it easier to get around our city. So $406 million invested to keep our streets, sidewalks, and alleys in a state of good repair. $3 million to continue our curbside composting program for 9,000 households. And $77 million to build and rehabilitate multi-use walking and biking trails throughout the city. So before I turn it back over to Steve, I'll just end with the next slide talking about some 25 investments specifically invested in our seniors. So many of the programs that Director Hines operates here, we were excited to make investments, $247,000 to expand the connector card, $750,000 to expand Safe at Home, $450,000 to support those experiencing Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, and then $2.1 million to support our Produce Plus program run by DC Health. That helps provide you cash to make purchases of fresh fruits and vegetables at local farmers markets. $6.5 million to support our grandparent caregivers who are taking care of their grandkids. And then $29.5 million to support a new 108 affordable senior housing unit building at Berry Farm, and $43 million for the development of 76 affordable senior rental units at Bruce Monroe. I won't read through all the various programming available for seniors at various DPR locations that you can see here on the slide, but my goodness, it's a lot. And Mayor Bowser has made it a point during her tenure to make sure that we have recreation opportunities for all. So this is just an amazing example of programs that are available throughout the city specifically for seniors. And then last, but certainly not least, Mayor Bowser cut the ribbon on the new $40 million Joy Evans Therapeutic Recreation Center that opened this fiscal year. We are very excited. And so with that, I will turn it back over to Steve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jenny. And thanks everybody for those presentations. They're really excited for the hundreds of people at the watch parties, and thousands are on the call right now. So we're going to actually start with a caller, and then we'll do some questions from here in the room as well. So our first caller is from Ward 6. It's Miss Juanita. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Juanita. We can hear you.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. The mayor made the comment that D.C. is growing, and I totally agree with her. And it's growing very fast, but with that comes affordability, especially for legacy D.C. residents. Now that HPAC recipients are chosen by a lottery, this makes affordability out of the reach by even more residents. How do you intend to address that growing problem?
Well, thank you for that question, Juanita. And I have been very proud in my tenure as mayor that housing affordability has been our signature issue. We have invested more, not just more than any mayor in the district, we've invested more than any jurisdiction in the country. So since 2010, over $1.5 billion in affordable housing. We've created over 36,000 new units. And here's the impact of that. We have a stat that shows that because of our investments and the additional supply we put in the market, that rents have increased less rapidly in D.C. than they have anywhere else in the country. So that means if it, a rent increase could look like this, in D.C. it looks something like that, half of what the increases were in the country. So we know that adding supply, the more you have, that it depresses the value of rent increases. So we have to keep doing that. Similarly, with HPAP, we've spent, and Jenny, you will remind me the different investment years that where we've had more money for HPAP, we use more money for HPAP, including when President Biden and the ARPA and the American Rescue Plan was released. We literally had, do you remember, Jenny?
Yeah, Mayor, during the ARPA investments, we had upwards of about $40 million that we could invest in HPAP and about $200 million in rental assistance.
So we had huge amounts of money that came in that we could get out the door. And as a result, we had some people that were qualifying for $202,000 worth of HPAP. So that's literally cash off of your, the price of your home. And that's a significant amount. I challenge you to go anywhere in the world and find a subsidy like that. But that's what we were able to do because we had those large sums of money. Those ARPA dollars have now been expended. So now we're back to a more regular amount of investment that we can make in HPAP. And because the amounts of money that is last year we were able to do how much?
Last year we were able to do about $36 million.
About $36 million. And so this year, hopefully we'll get there as well. But my point is we have less money and more people want the money. And our process of, hey, whoever gets in line first, it wasn't, I got to tell you, it just wasn't working. And so people would also be complaining that they couldn't ever know if HPAP was going to be available. First come, first serve didn't work. So the lottery approach allows us to tell everybody, and maybe Kevin will remember the specific changes to the program, and in a more orderly way.
As the mayor said, it's a program that, due to its own success, a lot of people want it for good reason. It provides essentially down payment assistance to someone buying a home, trying to build wealth for themselves. And so what the lottery will do, the challenge with the first come, first serve, is that individuals would go shopping for homes believing they had the money, not knowing that far more people were shopping for homes thinking they had the money than we actually had. So the lottery is trying to address one clear goal, which is to give total certainty. If someone is awarded an HPAP loan or grant, that they know when they shop for home, that money is theirs. Give them a fairly long window to be able to find one. If they're not able to find one, it will go to someone else in the lottery. So it's to give certainty for someone, and it's trying to move away from a process by which individuals would, they'd be deemed eligible, they thought they would have $100,000, $200,000 in assistance, identify a home thinking they were going to get it, and it turned out there might be 3 or 4 people trying to believe they had the same rights to that amount. So we hope the lottery gives that certainty, and if it doesn't, we'll continue to evolve. But we're trying to make sure people know if they have it, that money is theirs, that they can bank on it when they go look for houses.
Right. But we continue to believe in home ownership as a strategic investment for the district, and we will work very hard to maintain our commitment to it. I will also mention that there are a number of other programs that we have supported, including how people can have access to lower interest rate loans. Our own employees in DC government have access to an employee-assisted program for DC government employees, and a lot of our employees have taken advantage of it. So we continue to look for ways to invest in home ownership.
Great. Thank you very much for that question. I'll give the number again, 844-881-1314, and press 0 if you have a question. Likely anyone here in the room, if you've got a question, if you raise your hand, the team will come get to you. Our next question is we're going to go to the Hayes Senior Wellness Center. Miss Agnes, we can see you. What's your question? Yes, we have you.
I have a comment to make about the beauty of what I'm seeing today, and that's diversity. and the mayor's talked about diversity, and it's working for this city. Whether it's race, religion, nationality, holidays, sister cities, or whatever, I just want to say I look around this room in my 86th year of living on the planet and say diversity that you keep with the city, with your staff and everything, is wonderful. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hassan.
And I'm sorry, we'll go back now to Miss Agnes at the Hayes Senior Wellness.
Agnes, are you on the phone?
We can hear you now, Miss Agnes. Miss Agnes, we can hear you. Give your question.
Yes. I want to know about the connector card. Is it going to continue through the year? Because I have to pay $30-some for the $100 transportation.
Connect a card. The question is about Connect a Card. Sharon?
Yes, Ms. Agnes, the Connect a Card program is still operational. As I have shared with many seniors, it is by far one of the most popular programs that we offer at DACL. And so you are currently a participant?
Yes, she is. Director Hines, she's a current participant.
Okay. So thank you so much for your participation. Just a little bit about the Connector Card. It is our transportation program where seniors, based on your income eligibility, can receive up to $100 per month to use the Connector Card to travel to, whether you want to use it to come to your senior wellness center, if you want to go, get your hair done, visit your faith-based institution. But the funding amount is determined based on income guidelines. So for further information, you can call us at DACL at 202-724-5626. Thank you, Ms. Agnes.
Thank you. And likewise, I saw as I came in that our friends at Metro are here. And Metro also offers senior benefits of half, right?
Yes.
Seniors pay half on Metro. So continue to look for low-cost options for transportation.
Thank you. We'll go to another question in the room.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Geraldine Feaster. I go by Jerry, and I'm proud to serve on the board here at Model City. And I have a question not just for me, but for the board. What initiatives are in place to increase and allocate more funding and staff for the Senior Center to better support the increase in membership and effective meeting the growing program need of the Model City Senior Program?
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Jerry, for that question. So I want to know more about what we need. So this is a good chance to share with us, and I'll ask Director Hines to work with the board on any kind of specific recommendations so that we're looking at, I'm going to give you a real budget ease answer, okay? And I know you're going to have the answer. So it's like, how many more people do we have here? How many staff to people? How does it compare to our other senior centers? What did the members ask for that we have been responsive to? And so that's how we will look at your request. And I'm going to ask Director Hines to make sure we have it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question in the back. Please stand in.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, or good evening, and thank you, Mayor, for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a question. Some of the seniors still work.
Yes, ma'am.
For you all, for the government. Mm-hmm. Okay. I still work. I work for DCPS.
Okay.
I'd like to know, who do you talk to for educational resources that are needed at some of the schools that you have worked at? I've worked at a lot of DC public schools in the area, and when you see some of the schools lacking in certain educational situations for kids, who do you talk to try to see what can be done at the schools.
Okay. You want to give me a couple of examples?
Yes, I work with the kids with IEPs.
Okay.
And a lot of the kids with IEPs, they are, from what I could see and what they need and what the curriculum that's being taught to them is not relevant to these kids advancing as far as high school kids advancing to get jobs.
Okay.
And some schools have programs that, like Duke Ellington, they have programs to help the kids with IEPs. Some schools don't.
Okay. Well,
And you only have one school, from what I heard, River Terrace is the only school that helps with the kids with IEPs to advance for jobs.
okay. Well, thank you for that question. And making high school relevant is on the top of our minds. And that's part of why you see the investment that we have in advanced technical centers. It allows children to get academic instruction at their school and specialize, sometimes academic, but most frequently job-related experience at the second half of their day. And that is, we opened that, what is that building called? Ward 5. At the Penn Center in Ward 5, we opened an advanced technical center. They have a big focus on IT and medical training, and we know that we have a big need for kids to be in jobs in the allied health fields. We're also going to open one at the Whitman Walker Clinic, at the Whitman Walker Center in Ward 8 at the on the St. Elizabeth's campus. So we'll have another advanced technical center. But more specifically, Kevin, I want Kevin to kind of speak with how DCPS and the public charter schools work to address our children with a plan.
It's a really good question. We do get feedback, obviously, from the chancellor. We get feedback from the charter school board as well. And the mayor also hosts and attends recurring meetings with school leaders to try to hear directly from school leaders either at DCPS or the charter sector. And we get regular feedback. The IEP is one where, as a system, we've started to do a better job recognizing the need for special education in more kids. So we've seen an increase in the number of kids who have IEPs. That's really a reflection of just better assessments and quicker assessments. During the middle of the school year, in response to that, the chancellor came to the mayor and wanted to set aside more dedicated classroom space for kids with IEPs at both the elementary school level all the way through the high school level to be able to modify mid-school year for more kids who have IEPs. We also recognize the need for transportation, so we've made investments in transportation to ensure that children who have IEPs that need transportation are able to get from their home to the school more effectively. We brought in we've supplemented some of our routes with additional buses. We've also given incentives for people to be able to make sure they drive buses, show up every day for our kids. So I do think with high school, as we recognize more kids who have IEPs, we'll have to really expand the number of opportunities in high school for kids to be able to have practical job experience that also applies as high school credit towards their graduation. That's what we're started to do with the Advanced Technical Center. That's what we want to do in every high school. And these budget forums are really good ways to give us feedback when we expand services to recognize that we're doing so to meet a greater need.
How about the kids with IEPs and autism? Because what I can see is a lot of kids with autism as well.
I would agree, and very often when I've looked at the data around doing a better job identifying kids who need IEPs, it very often is co-occurring needs for both special education with an underlying diagnosis of autism. So we're doing a better job at younger ages identifying kids, and as they get to high school, I think some of the changes that we're seeing in letting kids with autism, special needs, or both, be able to get job experiences while they get high school credits is a really critical part of giving them opportunities. So when they do transition from the time when they're eligible for an IEP to when they're too old to have one, they know they have a place in our community, in our city, to be able to continue either with their education or to pursue a career that will allow them to keep living here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take another phone question. This one is from Ward 7, Miss Ruth Harris.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Ruth Harris. I'm in Ward 7, and I'm very interested in the murals around Washington, D.C. And I'm noticing that as you come over the Sousa Bridge, there is a small, like a gateway. And I'm interested in finding out if there's any way that we can get a beautiful mural that would welcome people to the southeast area. I know artists. I could be helpful in finding them if that's a budget for it. And I'd like to know if that's an interest, because it's definitely an interest of mine. I'm 78. I've been in D.C. for most of my life, and I'm just interested in seeing something beautiful out there and uplifting. As you know, Mary, who was a homeless woman, lived under that bridge for a very long time until she passed away. So I would like a new energy for that area, and I'm very interested in finding out how we or I can go about getting that done.
Well, thank you for that question, Ms. Harris. And we definitely invest in murals. It's our Public Works Department that has our Murals DC program. They had a big campaign for the murals in alleyways on U Street, murals on commercial establishments all over the city. And I haven't told my staff this yet, but I had another vision for part of our America 250 work, because 250-year birthday of America will be not this July 4th, but next July 4th. And 2026 is that we should launch a new murals program for all 8 wards. And so that will allow us to, evolve some of our existing murals and get new murals in place. So, but in advance of that, Murals DC at DPW is a good place to check for requesting a mural.
Thank you very much for that question. We're going to go to one of the senior wellness centers. We're going to St. Albans. We have Tom Gregory. We can see and hear you, Mr. Gregory.
Hello, Mr. Gregory.
Yes. Question. As you know, the cost of housing is really important to us seniors. Rent stabilization, also called rent control, was an attempt to hold down the cost of renting. But right from the start, the cost of renting by law is allowed for the owners of the rental property to raise rent more than inflation every year, more than inflation. And you don't have to be a mathematician to know what compound interest does. So I'd like to know, what can you do to stop this runaway rent and from this compounding of the cost of rent for us and seniors?
Well, thank you for that question. And we are very focused on the rental housing ecosystem, especially the affordable rental housing ecosystem, because quite frankly, we have to make some adjustments. And the biggest focus we have right now is making sure that about 1/3 of people in some properties aren't paying their rent. And that is impacting the 70-some% of the people who are, because these properties will begin to fail. They could go into foreclosure. They stop paying for security and maintenance. And so that's important. The other thing that we're very focused on doing is attracting investment back into the city. and we have to fix this non-rent payment issue, but as well as some other issues that prevent investors from wanting to come in DC. And so there's some very discrete things around TOPA that I have at the council right now with the Rental Act. Now, what we haven't addressed is the rent control issue. We have a lot of stabilized units in our city, and some of them are, I think, being used as affordable housing for people who need it. And some of them are people living in those units who don't need stabilized housing. So I think that the issue around rent control aren't addressed in any pending legislation, but there are frequently measures at the council that prevent landlords from unfairly raising the rent. Was it Tom? There's not any immediate action around the rent control issue.
Thank you very much for that question. We have another question in the room. Ms. Sonetta?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to my family here. First of all, I am Annetta Hampton Nicholas, and I am a proud member of this particular venue. I want to thank you. I really want to thank you for how you handled the COVID crisis. Even though I disagreed with you when I had to stay home, you kept me safe. I also, for the transportation, every day, this is a healing place. And please continue to fund these services in this place, because I get more rejuvenation with the MC Steppers, with Model Cities lunches, with Model Cities family.
Good.
It has been really inspirational to me. And again, I followed you since you started.
Thank you.
I want to say, I've said the good things, and someone said, always bring up the good, because there's a lot of good that has been done for all of us. And for the seniors, I would like to say thank you for the Cameo Club, for these queens. They came in, nobody acknowledged them.
Thank you, queen.
But these are my sisters and the reigning queen. The group that came during COVID, that group of women who were not salaried, not paid, but we bonded, and we stayed until you elected a queen during the COVID time, Vanilla Crawford. And Miss Crawford, of course, they all know her. Now, all I would like to say is I would like to continue to come to this place. I have the connector card, and I've used it. I've received food during COVID and passed it on to other families who needed it. At this time, I would like for the government, for DC government, to find out how I lost $300,000 through a settlement that I had with DC government. They did give me $250,000. I was advised to let them hold the $300,000. I trusted them. I have not seen it this day, Mayor. And I do have lawyers. I've had lawyers, and they've all been paid. But at this time, I would like that. Also, for the people who helped me with my home and helped me with my business, thank you. I am an entrepreneur now with an Airbnb. With that home, it was totally done. I took out a loan of over $600,000.
Now, ma'am, I don't want you to talk too much about your specifics, okay? So
Okay.
I'm going to stop you there.
If you have family who want to visit Washington, D.C., I do have.
Okay.
Alexis.
Hold on. They got to line up over here.
Go ahead, Alexis.
Good afternoon, Mayor. Again, thank you for being here. I am one of your former teachers of DC Public Schools with over 31 years of service. Thank you for giving that amazing shout out to the teachers, because we really don't get our just due. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director Hines, for your amazing job with DACO. Thank you so very much. And the both of you for supporting the Miss Senior DC pageant throughout the years. My question is, being the reigning queen, and my platform was education, family, intergenerational connections. And my question is, how does our city currently support initiatives that connect younger and older generations? Thank you.
Well, I think the answer to that is that we don't do enough, and we want to do more. And we've had various programs over the years, including we built an intergenerational home on Georgia Avenue some years ago, operated by CFSA. We're always looking for mentors and volunteers in the schools. So you're in the schools, so you know that it's not always easy to recruit volunteers and maintain volunteers, but there's so many active organizations that are helping individual schools. And we have a lot of people like you, retired educators, that, you know, can be giving back in that way. We also are hiring for our schools, and some DCPS does have some work that's part-time work. And it changes. So we hire bus attendants, we hire classroom aides. If you don't want something full-time, we have substitute teachers that we're always looking for. So there are ways in that way that you can be active and involved in the schools. But I think the number one way that we can support young people is through mentorship. Another program that we're very active with is the Grandparent Caregivers Program. We know we have grandparents that are raising young people, and we can offer some small assistance in that regard. So that's another thing that we can do. But I would have to admit that we as a city, and how we get more, we harness the power of volunteerism. We continue to work on that. We have an organization called Serve DC that is set up to accept volunteers. We have, you may not even think about this, but one way that we're supporting our seniors is in a volunteer activity. So people sign up by the scores to help with snow. Now, I shouldn't mention that because it's not going to snow anymore. But we have a list of people who need help with snow or trash. And then we have people that volunteer to do it. And sometimes there are connections made. Did I miss anything that we should add?
Boards and commissions.
Boards and commissions?
Yes, so the District of Columbia is privileged to have over 160 different boards and commissions, so we're always looking for people to serve. So we'd love to have conversations with you. You can visit all the open slots at Mota.dc.gov.
Okay. Mota.dc.gov. Okay, it's a question here and a question here and a question here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yvonne Wynn, and I'm a member and one of many volunteers here at Model Cities. My question for you is, if the federal government takes over DC, what impact will that have on seniors, senior programs, and funding for senior service? And Mayor, I heard your answer to that question on TV the other day.
Oh,
it's not going to happen, but you know, we got to, at least we got to acknowledge.
Okay, good. Thank you for that question. So let me kind of deal with it straight away. We have limited home rule in this city, right? And you all were around and probably fought for it. It happened like right around the time I was being born. Okay, so we have limited home rule in this city. The only way that we're ever going to not have to ever answer that question again is to become the 51st state. So let me say that. Okay, limited home rule was granted by the Congress, by legislation, not the president. Limited home rule can only be undone by the Congress, not the president. Okay. So the idea that Donald Trump can walk down Pennsylvania Avenue and say, I've taken over the district, it doesn't work that way. It will have to go through the Congress. Now, having said that, they control the Congress. All right? They've controlled the Congress before, and the bills that they want to get through the Congress, they can't get through the Congress that aren't controversial. So a controversial bill getting through the House of Representatives, which it could more likely get through there, even though they have a very, very slim margin. Getting through the Senate takes 60 votes, not just a simple majority. So that'd be very hard. You see what I'm saying? So while I said it's very hard, I didn't say it was impossible. All right? So what my focus continues to be, just with Trump this time, just like with Trump the last time and every other president, is to focus on those things that we have in common and that we agree on. Our focus has been the return of the federal workforce, beautification issues in the city, public safety in the city. Okay? So those are our issues. But it's also my approach to go right directly to Donald Trump, as I did the first time. I went up to New York City. This time I visited him at his office in Mar-a-Lago. Go directly to the president and talk to him about these issues. So the one thing that I'll give them credit for is they call back. They keep the conversation going and they keep talking. So we're going to keep working with the president. We're going to keep working with the Congress. And because of our unique status as a federal district, we've always worked both sides of the aisle. So you know how we got RFK? Working with a Republican from Kentucky. Okay, that's how we got it. So we're going to continue to work both sides of the aisle. So this is what I can tell you. It has my focus. I'm focused on it. We're going to work hard. Our self-determination is the most important thing to me in making sure we maintain it. Now, to answer the other part of your question is, what will happen to you? And the answer would be, I don't know. Okay? And so I'd rather be able to answer your question. And you want your mayor to answer your question. You want your city council to be able to answer that question, not some far off, God knows who answering that question. And be clear. And part of the reason why I started out telling you who we are as a city is because we're not some colony of the feds that they take care of us. We take care of ourselves. It's your tax dollars that make that budget. So that is what I want us to be focused on. So I don't want you to be anxious. I know that's easier said than accomplished, but those are the facts about the political machinations that would have to happen.
Great, thank you. Next question.
Who is the next? Okay, I'm having trouble keeping up, so I'm going to need some help. Okay, let's take 5 more. One here, one here, one here. There was one back there, and one back there. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leroy Black. I'm a 20-year member of Model Cities. I started with Miss Stacy Mack. My question is that I started as a volunteer through Department on Aging.
Mm-hmm.
I started as a volunteer, and we had a senior it was a senior program, volunteer program, that's been cut out for about 10 years now, 8 years or so. And I was wondering if it's possible that we can get that senior program back, volunteer program.
Okay, tell me what the volunteer program did.
It was a stipend that we had about
Okay.
8 years ago.
Got it.
When you came on,
Uh-huh.
you and the director at
Mm-hmm.
the time, at that time, she's not here anymore,
Mm-hmm.
cut the senior volunteer program out.
Okay. It's a volunteer program with a stipend. Okay. Let me look into that.
Next, right here.
Good afternoon. I want to salute you for being our dynamic great mayor as a native Washington
Thank
for
you,
over
thank you.
75 years. We salute you, your staff, the city council, and we are behind you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a twofold question as your newly appointed commissioner for Ward 4.
Okay.
One of them is the handicap parking in the city, the red meters, are no longer free. We have to pay that red meter. What happened? Years ago, seniors would go downtown
Yep.
and park free. Now, we have to pay the meter. That's question number one.
Yep.
Question number two, what email do we use to give your budget group suggestions as citizens?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I haven't heard about those red meters in a long time, but what happened was people were using them fraudulently. And they were parking there all day, or I think you had to have a placard to use them for free, to get to use them for free. And that was also fraudulent. People were using someone else's placard. So the intent of it was to be available for people with disabilities. The effect of it, it never was. Very able-bodied people were using it for free. So people who needed it couldn't use it, and they were depriving the city of their parking fees that they should have been paying. So we had to adjust that.
So the adjustment is everybody pays for parking,
Yes.
handicap or not.
I think that's the case that you pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the red meters are there just easy accessibility for those who are handicapped, but you still honor the meter.
Yes.
Okay. I'll take that back.
I
to
think
my
that's
seniors.
correct. Now you're
Okay.
testing my memory, but I think that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good. And the email address.
Do we have this is budget.dc.gov. Is there a
Yes, and also budget@dc.gov as well.
budget@dc.gov? All right. Question here from my Commanders fan.
Oh, good morning,
Good morning.
Mayor. Good morning, all of you and everybody. You gonna hold it? Hey, my girl. They just cut my tablet off. I was with Terrific Inc.
Okay.
and they just cut it off.
Terrific. Do you know anything
My
about that,
tablet.
Tamara?
I was on the senior program.
Okay.
Okay. They are no longer one of our grantees, so we can follow up after this.
Okay, and I want to thank you for raising a mothership. My girl.
Okay.
So that's right. You can catch more bees with honey.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got a couple more over here. Yep.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Afternoon, I should say. I'm Janice Talley for Ward 8, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for this. My question is, I am a recipient of the Safe at Home program. I heard you at the summer event that we had say that you'd increase the amount of money for that program. My question is, if you have received assistance once, are you able now to get your assistance for the second time? That's my first question. And the second question is, if seniors have illnesses or accidents that require them to have additional services from Safe at Home, is it possible for us to be reassessed?
The quick, short answer for you is one, call me. Because one, with the changes for Safe at Home, whereas previously it may have just, if you were in a two-person household, and I'll be more specific, like two couple, right? Household, at the time under the original Safe at Home program, maybe only one out of the two needed a Safe at Home service or qualified, whereas now under the new program with the mayor putting in additional funding and adjusting some of those income guidelines, because we find that, you know, one spouse may need it, the other spouse doesn't, and then about 5-7 years down the line. So I'll be here afterwards, so let's talk a little further so I can connect you with the team and we see specifically. Okay, so we'll talk offline after this. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that question about Safe at Home. It is a grant program that we created that is meant to help people with life safety issues that allow you to be able to walk safely, all of your life activities in your home safely. And so we've done it like I think 10 years running and have helped a lot of people. Okay. Is this the last question? Okay.
Commissioner Bobo.
Hi, Commissioner.
How you doing? The seniors in the city had a challenge years ago of staying in the city once they incurred health issues. And you came up with 2 affordable assisted living facilities. Is there anything in the pipeline to maybe for another affordable assisted living facility that might help us?
Yes, and we're always looking to support and help support senior assisted living facilities. I actually asked my team to focus our Fletcher Johnson project on assisted living, and that, you know, there's been a lot of back and forth with the community on that. We just opened a facility in Ward 7 by Parkside that has the range, well, you were there with us when we were over there, that has a range of services throughout the kind of spectrum of support, so we're happy about that. So part of it is how do we interest the private sector into investing in D.C., and what role can the city play in partnering with them? And that also includes services. Another thing that's important for us to engage in, even though we don't have 2 senators, but we still want to be talking to the other ones. Angela also Brooks told me she was going to be our senator, so we're going to call her. And call Chris Van Hollen, who's been a big supporter of ours, and the Virginia, until we get our own too, we got to use them. But this issue about Medicaid is important. Like most of our senior community is supported by Medicare, but there are others who are getting Medicaid services, and a lot of those services support the facilities like the one you're talking about. And so any cuts to Medicaid, like the Republicans in the House are talking about now, would be devastating to seniors. Because you may not be on Medicaid, but somebody else that's living in one of those facilities is using Medicaid dollars, and those dollars help the overall operation of safe housing for people. So if you haven't, and I don't know where they are in kind of renting up there, but it's a beautiful facility and beautiful views and
the residences at Kenilworth?
Yes, the residences at Kenilworth, just beautiful. And it's really a model of what we can do, I think, at Fletcher Johnson and other places. We could do it at RFK. We could do it on the St. Elizabeth campus, where we need more senior living facilities. But the ones we have, the best senior housing, is the housing you have, if it's safe. And so part of how we keep people connected to their own homes, keep them safe, and keep people engaged in the surrounding community is I know, the mission of DACL, and it's our commitment. So I want to thank you for being engaged today. Tell your friends. They can go on our website at budget.dc.gov to learn more. Thank you.